don't know if you guys heard or not, but there was a Superman film that came out last weekend, and it did pretty good, all things considered. Now, we're going to be going through some of the numbers, and I know a lot of people have already ran it down, and if you compare ticket sales, and if you take a look at inflation, Man of Steel actually outperformed it, and yeah, I'm not out here sweeping for Superman 2025, okay? I've heard a fair number of reviews. I've watched a considerable number of reviews, rather, okay, and EFAP's extensive breakdown, and honestly, like, the more it's weird, right? Because I don't like this movie at all whatsoever. Everything that I see about it, and the extensive breakdown on it just sounds like an absolute mess, and everything that I was fearing about a James Gunn Superman has come to light, and then some. It's really given me quite an appreciation for the character of Superman, one that I've always had and I've always appreciated, but I think he's probably my favorite superhero at this point in time, the more that I think about it. And yeah, like I said, I'm not happy about 25, okay? Superman 2025. It's not something that I want, but it gives me hope that at least DC, okay, as a studio, as a franchise, as an IP, will finally have a grounding force, and that the overall DCU, now that it has somebody in charge, that this isn't going to 100% be in flux. It won't be going from movie to movie wondering, okay, what's the ultimate direction for this? Like, there's finally going to be somebody in charge, somebody that I'm not exactly that enthusiastic about, but potentially some more intelligent people, more competent people could come on board, and we could be getting something worthwhile in the future. It's going to be a little bit of growing pains to begin with, and a couple of teething issues, I'm hoping. But all that said, I mean, going back to another James Gunn quote from a couple of weeks ago, this is very much that solid double down the right field line as opposed to the walk-off home run. Okay, like, there's one thing that you can say here. Like, if we want to keep up with the baseball analogy, it ripped that double off of a Clayton Kershaw curveball. Like, they took the best pitch and they made something out of it. But all things considered, it'll be interesting, right? Because we got a gap week coming out. Okay, like, there is no big release coming out this upcoming weekend, and Fantastic Four after that. We'll be talking about that tomorrow, which, holy Christ, man, if it's so weird, because never before has such a consequential movie, at least anything that I can remember in recent memory, something that is so consequential, something that is so high budget, and something so desperate to succeed, they just have absolutely no presence, no excitement around it. As the kids say, no aura. Like, it's a movie that exists that might do exceedingly well. Maybe the normies are just sleeping on this one, not really talking about it, just waiting until July 25th to really get behind it. But yeah, I see absolutely nothing other than sheer apathy for Fantastic Four. But going back to Superman, okay, the box office falling fast. Gunn's DCU off to a rocky start like Man of Steel, which, if we want to compare raw numbers, I mean, like, you're going back 12 years at this point in time, and yeah, Superman 25 is very likely going to do better than Man of Steel, okay? And its opening weekend, well, let's just take a look, okay? I don't want to spoil everything. Following a strong preview opening, yes, the previews were very good, and now that we have actuals here, well, it looks even better. Superman box office now appears to be slowing down, at least according to the latest estimates. Okay. Following a better than expected Tuesday and Thursday previews, the late Thursday night into Friday morning estimates surged, with projections reaching as high as $130 million, or even more. The Wrap was calling for $175 million opening at one point, yeah, which is laughable at that point in time. Deadline also noted that, yeah, rival studios see it coming in even lower. Okay, but that was revising their estimates Saturday morning down to $115 to $121 million, which, interesting. And then Sunday PM update, the trades have again revised their estimates, this time up to $123 million at the box office, seeing a possible $124-125 million opening. Warner is reporting $122 million. Actuals will come in Monday, but we'll get around to that, because let's go ahead and run the comparisons first. Okay, it's worth pointing out that Superman's Thursday previews, 22.5 million, beat the Batman's, okay, which in theory should have meant that Superman would continue strong and top Batman's $134 million opening weekend, which also opened to nearly $250 million worldwide, finishing with over $772.2 million. But now that Superman is expected to come in under that number, it clearly, means fewer people showed up over the weekend. Yeah, because let's keep it a buck. Fewer people are going to the theaters even back in 2021 with the Batman, let alone 2013 when Man of Steel came out. Okay. But yes, what about Man of Steel? I don't think it's fair to compare Gunn's Superman to Man of Steel opening. Snyder had the advantage of, yes, following Christopher Nolan's billion-dollar Dark Knight trilogy, which, yes, of course, I don't know if anybody remembers that marketing campaign for Man of Steel, but who was front and center on that one? It wasn't Zack Snyder. Because, okay, like his aura around, his ability to adapt things a la Watchmen, which is a movie I fucking hate to this very day. But yeah, he's the visionary behind 300, movie that has aged like milk. But people liked it, and especially, closer to its release, 5 years removed from its release in 2013. But yeah, he still had a pretty good reputation. Sucker Punch had just recently come out, but we don't talk about that one, okay? It's like a lot of the Snyder cultists, okay? They only want to talk about Man of Steel, BVS, Justice League, and how Warner Brothers screwed him over, but they never want to talk about Rebel Moon, Army of the Dead, or Sucker Punch. It's interesting. It's very interesting how they have selective memory issues. But yeah, what was front and center when it came to the Man of Steel marketing? Christopher Nolan, executive producer. See, guys, okay, the Dark Knight trilogy might all be wrapped up, okay? Christopher Nolan is moving on to different projects, but hey, he still has given his blessing. He has passed the torch to Zack Snyder, okay? This Man of Steel, this version of Superman, no. This isn't going to be the guy with the red panties over the front of his trunks, okay? This isn't going to be, goofy, hokey, corny Christopher Reeve. This is going to be serious, dark, stripped down, street level Superman. He's going to be gruff. He's going to scream. He's going to cry. He's going to snap Zod's neck. This is an adult superhero made for serious people. Superman's gonna sink into an ocean of skulls because we're serious. We're real serious people. Anyways, Nolan was executive producer for Man of Steel and Dark Knight writer. Yes, David S. Goyer handled the screenplay, which I don't know, man. The dude who did, Batman Begins, the first two Blade movies, The Dark Knight, also Dark Knight Rises. I guess you got a lot more of the latter as opposed to the former, but I don't know. I don't know how you came up with that. But anyways, yeah, Snyder directing, was seen as Nolan giving him his blessing, which is true. I've been told Nolan personally chose Snyder over Matt Reeves for the job, which interesting. Yes, you could argue the Man of Steel was actually a bigger failure. I mean, yeah, because it had all the hype behind it, man. I remember all of the stuff that was coming out during that time, and then it was a bad movie. Still remains to this day as a very, very, very bad movie. Henry Cavill is amazing casting, but there are so many problems with Man of Steel. And so a big bombastic opening. Man of Steel opened to $160.9 million and finished with $924 million in today's dollars at the box office. But yeah, it was $600 and some odd million right there. But yeah, it really should have been a $1 billion movie. But it was Zack Snyder at his absolute most Zack Snydery. Even after that, right? Like it was so obvious how insecure he was after, all the criticism started to roll in on Man of Steel, Superman not really being Superman, more or less just being mopey murder man. How he overcorrected so much with BVS about how they were going to take on Doomsday in this secluded island, and Metropolis has totally been evacuated. And it's funny, right? Because Man of Steel to this very day, even though it was an underperforming bomb, you could also say that, at least for DC, it ended up becoming one of the most consequential films, mostly because those same insecurities that played out for BVS but on the shoulders of Zack Snyder, James Gunn still has to wrestle with that, in so much as, he had to have a line in Superman 25 where Metropolis, the 36 million people in Metropolis, were evacuated in 5 minutes. Like I said, Man of Steel's bad, but it's not like Superman is great. Superman 78 is great, but Superman 25, not so much, okay? But yeah, looking at the numbers, I mean, god damn it, man. It has a really good opportunity to do a very good numbers next week, because Jurassic World Rebirth having that 56% drop off, that's pretty staggering. And it gained theaters, okay? $40 million weekend. Oh, geez, it's not going to hit $1 billion. Well, kind of depends as well, because also taking a look at that box office, man, okay, something that is going to be very apparent as a point of contrast here with Superman, the international market is going to be what carries this to $1 billion or ends up causing it to fall short, because for as much as that B cinema score normally means a film totally and completely dies on domestic shores, apparently the other folks really like the film, okay? And I think next weekend, I guess this upcoming weekend, the way that this works out, that gap week, it's going to tell a tale. Because if Jurassic World holds on, and especially the international numbers continue to roll in, and depending on what Superman's drop-off looks like, because a Rebirth can continue to falter domestically, but if the international numbers continue to pour in, more markets open up even wider, especially on a weekend where nothing big is coming out, it could do something. But me being critical of Superman, it's not a common opinion that is held right now. Like this is approaching beloved status. But then again, we also have gone through this with Thunderbolts, with Captain Black Falcon, America Man, with Deadpool and Wolverine. A lot of films that come out immediately and are just beloved. Oh my God, this is the best thing since the last best thing. And then in a week, 2 weeks, a month, then people start to criticize it. Then when it starts to fall off, people start to go, oh yeah, right, those characters, they kind of suck. What exactly was going on in the plot? Maybe it wasn't that good after all. And so perhaps that's what we're seeing, because you take a look at the international numbers and 95 as opposed to the 125, which that's the weekend, and that's the actuals that have come in, $125 million opening weekend. And honestly, it's pretty good, right? Because that $22.5 million two preview nights, which is that necessarily fair to combo up the Tuesday and the Thursday? Don't know how many showings were on the Tuesday. Okay, maybe it makes for a little bit more of a fair comparison on your stereotypical Thursday previews, which have 2 or 3 showings. And if you only have 1 or 2 on Tuesday and 1 or 2 on Thursday, that's whatever. But the thing that is an unmitigated success is the $56 million Friday. That right there stands at this point in time as the biggest box office opening, the biggest box office day, full stop, for any movie in 2025. The only thing that comes close is for Lilo and Stitch, which potentially this week, but man, this could end up being like a box hair short of crossing $1 billion, which Disney, as petty as they are, I can imagine they're just going to go ahead and keep it in this weekend and probably keep it all the way through to the end of the summer. And it'll creep past that $1 billion, especially because, you take a look at the split once again, just about 40-60 domestic to international. And while the financials don't necessarily bore out in favor of the studio when the international ends up carrying the day, it looks good when you can say we have $1 billion movie in our coffers, because Disney, technically you're going to get that with Avatar at the end of the year, but you're not going to be getting that with Fantastic Four. And as for Lucasfilm's output this year, it's a good thing that Andor succeeded. Well, maybe it's not, because that's also going to hang over the top like a fucking specter. But the only other comparable, the previous record holder for 2025 was a Friday heading into a long weekend, and it got, 55.9 million, which is just so small, just so close. But $2 million is $2 million when it's all said and done. I'm sorry, not 2 million, 200,000. And it's unfortunate that we don't have comparables with Jurassic World Rebirth, because it debuted on a Wednesday and it just ended up dragging out for a 5-day opening weekend. So to do a proper apples to apples comparison doesn't really add up all that well, because its first Friday 26 is behind its opening, and then you got the Thursday that's in there that throws everything, and then your Saturday was your highest. It's all very, very insane. And then that first Monday drop off was pretty steep, and that's about the first time, and I'm sure throughout this week, because I'd imagine we're still going to be talking about Superman for quite a while now, especially with Fantastic Four coming out. But I'll be interested to see what the legs for this film is, because the math around this is it's been interesting for a while, because you had those reports of $360 million thanks to the tax records from the state of Ohio. Then you started to get other trades start to run around with a $250 million budget after incentives and rebates. But still, there's definitely a potential, and as it sits right now, it could end up breaking even, which at this point in time for DC Yeah, it's been a long time coming. But yes, 2025 Superman film directed by James Gunn, starring David Corenswet as the Man of Steel, represents a pivotal reboot for the DC universe under Warner Brothers Discovery. Released July 11th, the movie has already generated significant buzz, both positive and negative. From what I'm seeing, overwhelmingly positive. And if you're negative on it, holy shit, man. You just don't like anything. You just hate fun. It's the same old shit over and over again, man. It's same type of lazy criticism that I thought we were done with, that was very popular in the late teens, early 2020s. But yes, as of July 14th, 3 days into its theatrical run, the film has grossed $122 million domestically, $217 million worldwide. Third biggest opening weekend of the year behind Jurassic World Rebirth, which, if you couch appropriately, it's, I don't know, man. I really don't know how Jurassic World Rebirth would look on a proper 3-day opening weekend as opposed to its 5-day opening. I don't know how many people that went on the Wednesday would have went on the Friday, that went on the Thursday, that would have went on the Saturday, or vice versa. Any of the people that went on a Friday would have gone if not for the first initial wave coming out earlier in the week. Who knows? But yeah, Lilo and Stitch also, that was Memorial Day long weekend. But that was a film that was always going to make a lot of money, regrettably so. So yes, the production budget for Superman has been a flashpoint of debate since pre-production. Initial reports are based on public tax credit applications filed with the Ohio Motion Picture Tax Credit Program, listed the gross expenditures of $363.8 million. Reported by outlets like The Hollywood Reporter suggested Superman could rank among the most expensive films ever made. Not entirely true, because The Rise of Palpatine and Endgame, and then specifically, you take a look at the UK tax documents for so many of phases 4 and 5 for Marvel, and it's probably still in the top 10 when it's all said and done about dollars spent, but dollars taxed, it's probably going to end up being much more moderate Cape fare. I digress. Okay, official statements peg the net production budget at $225 million, a figure corroborated by sources like the Wall Street Journal, IMDb, and Box Office Mojo. But Box Office Mojo is a subsidiary of IMDb. Wall Street Journals are just, they're just a bunch of hacks. And all of these access outlets, for every Marvel production, they always pair the same $180 million budget. $180 million budget. This adjustment aligns with common, industry practices where tax incentives reduce the cost by 10 to 30%. But yeah, as for the marketing campaign, industry trades initially estimate the campaign at $200 million. Bruh. Exceeding the typical $150 million for the summer tent poles. Okay, post-release, Variety says they revised the downwards to $100 million, which I don't agree. Even to this very day, the marketing, okay, and I don't see that many ads. I don't watch TV, I don't see commercials or anything like that. But still, the big clickable ads, Superman's still everywhere, okay? So I do not believe, especially when you also hear that, the marketing campaign for the Thunderbolts or any of the other D+ shows that have come out also have the same amount of coverage, and they say that it's $100 million. I don't believe it for Superman. For as much as this film has been out there, and for as long as it's been out there, I don't believe you. When they fess up to $100 million and you're trying to say, no, actually, no, I don't believe you. So yes, adding it all up, clock it, I would say, fairly at about $425 million. Even if you just wanted to go 4 bills with your typical movie math of you get 50% to the take at the domestic box office, 45% internationally, you're still going to need 2 to 2.5 times your production and marketing budget, the money that you spent coming back from the box office in order to break even, meaning that, $850 to about $1 billion in order to break even if we're going to keep it a buck. But when you had James Gunn come out and say that we don't need a home run, we just need a solid double. Well, you got that solid double. We don't need it to make $700 million, and it doesn't need to make more. And a lot of people are blowing it out of proportions. Well, good thing that you set those expectations so goddamn low, because apparently it's not going to clear that. I would be intensely surprised if this thing hits $700 million. I think it'll crest and probably land somewhere in on and around 500, 600, 650 at best, because I think it's going to have decent word of mouth. I think it'll have decent legs. It'll probably have a 55% drop off in the second week, because people, generally speaking, like the movie. The performances, from what I hear, outside of one very questionable actress, everything's it's all well and good. somewhat of a pleasant film to look at outside of James Gunn's fixation with a fisheye lens. It's kind of like Zack Snyder with blurry vision. James Gunn wants to go with this stupid, wonky, distorted shit, which will get cringe, and enough people, start to notice it if given enough time, okay? Yeah, man, it's all gonna come into focus a few weeks, a month down the line. By the end of the summer, we'll be able to know what the future of the DCU ends up looking like. It's gonna be going forward. James Gunn is gonna be getting his way, which is gonna bode very interestingly for the next upcoming film in the DCU, and also for the Batman 2. If James Gunn says that, oh yeah, the script is, I've seen it, it's great, let's just see how quickly Matt Reeves gets to go into production on his next Batman project. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.